Welcome to the VetFarm Network Podcast. I'm your host, Kate. On this show, we talk with veteran farmers, service providers, and people from all backgrounds who are doing work that supports or benefits veteran farmers. Whether you're farming yourself or building tools, programs, or ideas that help those who do, you'll find real conversations, practical resources, and stories that matter. Today, I'm joined with Joe Ricker, founder of Addie's Orchard and veteran outreach coordinator for AgrAbility. Joe is a retired Army colonel, a beekeeper, and a dedicated advocate for helping veterans reconnect with the land and rebuild their sense of purpose through farming. We'll talk about his personal story, how Addie's Orchard came to life, his work with AgrAbility, and two important events on the horizon, the Salute to Veterans charity golf outing and the upcoming Veteran Farming Conference in Shipshewana, Indiana. Well, welcome, Joe. Thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your military background and where your farm is located?
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Kate. So my farm is Addie's Orchard, and we're located about 30 miles south of Anderson, Indiana. I've learned since I've moved to Indiana that everything is talked about in counties. So I'll say Hancock County because nobody knows the cities. Like I'm near Wilkinson, but everybody knows the 92 counties here. I have I kind of manage my farm as a learning environment for veterans. So I don't have a large amount of anything to produce, but I produce a little bit of a lot of stuff. So I have chickens right now. I think we have about 35 chickens. And as those chickens grow older and start laying, we'll disperse them to our veterans farm in Danville and Anderson, Indiana. About 200 apple trees, and we use those apple trees to both harvest the apples and teach veterans about pruning and other spraying techniques and how to manage an orchard. They also do a great benefit to the bees. I have quite a few beehives that produce honey. We sell the honey for the nonprofit, as well as do open apiary time in conjunction with our partners at Heroes for Hives with Dr. Ingrao. And I'm trying to think of it. We recently got goats. So I've given away about 5 baby goats now, which seem to be a great gateway animal into the ruminant stomach of a farm animal for veterans to kind of get their arms around how to deal with farm animals. And then we also have projected some of the NRCS programs that Shane talked about in the previous podcast. I have a pollinator plot under NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service, as well as a high tunnel that we put up last year that we're going to start growing vegetables in this year, probably pushing those more towards food pantries and the like. But it gives, again, it's kind of a opportunity for veterans to really get their hands into different areas of agriculture.
And can you tell us a little bit about your military background?
Oh yeah, that's what the question was, right? So so I was retired in the military in June of 22. Prior to that, I was a DoD skill bridge um, person. And then I started in the Army about 1992. So I had about 30 years of service. 5 years was in the reserves, 25 was in the active guard reserve, but that's very similar to active duty. I had 2 tours in the Pentagon, as well as one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan.
Wow. And so where was your family living during that time? Because you said you moved to Indiana. Did you move around with your family?
Yeah, so when I started, where my first assignment was in Charleston, West Virginia. And so most AGRs live on the economy because their reserve forces are all over um, in small areas, not normally on bases, but there are some on bases. So I started in Charleston, West Virginia. I went to Wisconsin. Cedarburg, Wisconsin is where we lived. Again, living on the economy with our reserve unit in Milwaukee. I deployed twice. My wife has a funny saying that she likes to talk about that she lived there 3 years. I lived there 1 year because I was deployed for 2 of the years. And then from there, I got the first Pentagon assignment, and that moved us to Fredericksburg, Virginia. And then Fredericksburg. And then one time we actually did live on a base. Actually, we lived on base two times. Was in Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakers, which was a very nice environment, as well as Fort Belvoir. I lived at Fort Belvoir on my second tour to the Pentagon. In between there is when I bought the property about 2016 for the farm.
So what was your transition out of service life and how did that integrate with agriculture and bees and the orchard keeping that you do today?
So in my last deployment, I was with Special Operations quite a bit doing logistics for them. Funny enough, those guys have a lot of beekeepers in them. So they were a lot of guys were talking to me about beekeeping. I said, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool." So when I got out of deployment, I started taking courses on beekeeping. Took Heroes to Hives. I took a course out of Rutgers University, and I thought, boy, bees are kind of pretty cool. There's a lot of attributes there that I enjoyed. We also enjoyed the Garden State with the amount of orchards they had and stuff. So after that, I bought my farm here in Wilkinson, Indiana, where I'm currently at, and then we planted the trees, got the bees, and then we learned about the AgVet program in Indiana when I was still on active duty, well, still full time, in about 2016 or 2017, when they were doing courses and stuff for veterans to get into farming, and it all kind of really just meshed together when I was going to retire in 2022 to do Skill Bridge with AgrAbility.
And so fast forward to you now hosting on-farm events, workshops, classes. What kind of transformations have you seen in other veterans or caregivers or first responders who participate in the Addie's Orchard programs?
So that's a great question. I think some veterans get into farming wanting to make their own business, and some veterans get in there for the camaraderie, the therapeutic, the control of being able to control your own destiny. Some of the transformations I've seen is I've had um, many veterans come to me and say, "Hey, I needed something to do. I was getting caught up in my mind, getting bad thoughts. I'm glad to get out in the environment, get in touch with nature again." We have veterans that have had, because of stress and other things, physical impairments, that nervousness, anxiety, things like that, that have kind of dissipated, I would say. So you can really see a veteran. The nice thing you see about the veterans is when they start, the camaraderie builds, the openness begins. You can start to direct them to resources because they trust you or start to have a relationship with you. Or another veterans mentioned, have you seen this or tried that? And it grows. It grows with tentacles out there.
That's great. So one of the other hats you wear is the Veteran Outreach Coordinator for AgrAbility. Can you tell us a little bit about that role and a little bit of what AgrAbility does for the veteran community?
Sure. So I work with Eileen on your previous podcast I listened to today. And what I do with AgrAbility as a veteran outreach coordinator is both in the state of Indiana and nationally. I will get phone calls or messages from veterans that want to become farmers. So my big discussion with the veteran is usually try to get a sense of what they want to do, see if they have a business plan, if they have the finances to get a farm, if they know the resourcing. So I usually have about a good half hour, 45-minute discussion with the veteran to kind of see where they're at and where they could go. And then I usually I find out if they have a disability for AgrAbility as well. And then I usually connect them with resources. Sometimes the SRAP or the State AgrAbility Project, like Eileen, or sometimes with other organizations that might be in the area to support them, such as Shane mentioned in other podcasts. NRCS has a lot of great programs for veterans, and there are other veteran groups out there like the Veteran Farm of North Carolina, that does training on the farm. So if they're in North Carolina, I'll hook them up with Robert Elliott or, Adam Ingro's Heroes to Hives or Mission Believe. There's just so many resources out there. I try to keep my pulse on the resources and get a sense of what the veteran would like to do.
And then coming up pretty soon, there's going to be a large charity golf outing, Salute to Veterans. It's the 12th annual IDVA golf fundraiser. And this year they've chosen Addie's Orchard to be the nonprofit group that they're working with. And so tell us a little bit more about that charity golf outing and how that's going to be really helpful for funding Addie's Orchard programming.
So we've been selected as the nonprofit partner for the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs. They select one a year, and then they partner with us for fundraising events. One of them is going to be the charity golf outing this year, held in Carmel. And what that's going to be is it's just going to be an open golf outing to raise money. It'll have not only golfing but auction items and raffles and little gimmicky things. I've kind of learned that there's a lot of gimmicky things in golf outings, like mulligan. You can buy a string for a mulligan that you can move your ball within the distance of the string you bought. Just a lot of fun things. I hear it's more fun than it is golfing, and I'm not sure they finally have a professional score out of all of it, but somebody does win it from what they tell me. And then what we're going to do with those funds is we're going to turn those funds into an opportunity for veterans in Indiana to get the resources they need to take them to the next level. And we're going to call that the AgrAvet Challenge. A little bit of a Shark Tank flavor, but we've been working with Indiana Farm Bureau and other organizations to really just find the group of veterans that have the business plan but are challenged with finances, and then try to solve some of their financial challenges to get to the next level. So we plan to take all the money from the charity golf outing and put it towards helping veterans in Indiana get to better farming places.
Awesome. And I think there's information about signing up for that at addiesorchard.org. And I think there's opportunities still open for businesses that want to sponsor or tickets. And there's individual tickets and team tickets. So there's a lot of options available for participating in that. Could you speak to a little bit the Veteran Farming Conference coming up in Shipshawana? It's a pretty exciting event. I don't think that Addie's Orchard has ever been part of a multi-state event like this. Can you tell us a little bit more about who's participating and what the event is going to cover?
Yeah, so we're kind of fun naming it the Michiano event because Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio are all getting together kind of in the upper corner of Indiana in a town called Shipshawana. And so that's going to be on January 11th and 12th. On January 11th, we're going to do a mental health first aid full day course for veterans, mental health first aid for veterans. And then we're also going to do a real in-depth business planning course. So how to create your business, how to do marketing, things like that, and really a fun environment. And that's going to be a half day event from about lunchtime to close the business. And then on Saturday, July 12th, is going to be an expo. We're open to vendors. We have some cool vendors like Nifty Hoop House coming. That's going to help show hoop houses and how a hoop house can help your farm growing season. And then in conjunction with the expo and maybe more information coming out is going to be the workshops area. So Dr. Ingreo out of Michigan is going to teach, I think, 4 or 5 classes on beekeeping. We have MSU Extension that's going to help out on both the business class and some fruit tree stuff discussions. And then we're going to work with Purdue as well on some other courses in there that'll include gardening and other things. I found that, when we started Addie's Orchard, we kind of did a lot of educational stuff. And I found, I think over the year or two that really it's about the camaraderie. So it's about bringing the veterans together, not only talking about or having a topic about farming, but turning to your left or right and finding out, hey, I served the same time in Iraq or Afghanistan as you. You remember this, you remember that. I have people I talk to that talk about many nuances of deployment that only a veteran would understand and laugh over. But that's what we hope to get with the conferences. The July 11th and 12th is really not only the camaraderie portion, but really theming around a lot of farming concepts as well, and the expo as well.
And then, so this year was kind of a big year for you. You had quite the honor with American Farm Bureau. Could you share a little bit about what that was like to be was it the veteran of the year is what they called it?
Yeah, so the Farm Bureau selected me as the American Farm Bureau um, Veteran Farmer of the Year. It was a little bit more of a whirlwind than I could have imagined. It started with some videotaping on the farm. Funny enough, that was the first, I think that was the second day we had the goats that they came out and they got away. So my family and the camera crew are chasing goats, trying to get them back in the corral, but they were more than obliging. And then from there, I went to DC and I had the opportunity to speak to a couple senators about veterans that want to be farmers in ways that the farm bill and other agricultural influences they have could help a veteran want to become a farmer. And then um, that was really cool. And then we went on to the Indiana Farm Bureau, had me speak at it, which was really nice. And then it ended with some stage time and some other things in San Antonio in January, which was an interview as well as stage opportunities and stuff. I really learned a lot from Farm Bureau. I was, coming out of the military and not in an ag background. To me, Farm Bureau was just an insurance company. But I actually learned a lot about their advocacy process and, the challenge that they try to help farmers get to the next level and the challenges they're having. They welcome small farmers and veteran farmers as well, although historically have been challenged to put their arms around them. They're definitely a resource. I've talked to Indiana Farm Bureau about a couple since the award. I've talked to Indiana Farm Bureau about a couple small farm impacts um, in the Indiana state legislature that would help Indiana out. So it's um it's a good communication tool as well, and they're a powerful advocate for farmers.
So if someone listening wants to find out more about Addie's Orchard, they can go to your website, addiesorchard.org. They could go to the golf event. They could join you in Shipshawana. Do you have any other upcoming events or programs that you're working on for over the next few months or season that you'd like to showcase?
Sure. So we're going to be putting up a high tunnel at one of our veteran farms up in Anderson, um, and that's going to be May 14th and 15th. And that high tunnel, you can sign up for it, veterans in farming as well. Um, or Addie's, I think it's on the veterans and farming site for the events. And then, so that's going to be somebody, when I got my high tunnel, I realized they say it's easy and you can watch YouTube videos to put up a high tunnel. But for a retired guy with bad shoulders and not a big engineering background, it's not as easy as it looks when they put mine up. So we put those up just so that other people can see. Not only we get the advantage of a high tunnel, but other people can see the the challenge of putting one up or understand the challenge that they would come across. We also are doing a wine tasting at a winery in June. Um, Rejoicing Vines in Indianapolis, which will be an exciting event as well. There, we're going to be using Purdue Extension to kind of show how to plant grapes, and then we're going to do a bit of little wine tasting and have some cheese afterwards and have some discussions on stuff. And that'll be a fun event. So yeah, those are, I think, are the major two coming up.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today. And to our audience, thanks for listening to the Vet Farm Network podcast. To learn more about Addie's Orchard, visit addiesorchard.org, or to find out more about veteran farming conference and tickets for that, go to vetsinfarming.com. Until next time, farm on.